Welcome everyone to our YouTube series, Test Prep Made Easy. So in this particular series, we are going to post regularly questions on our YouTube channel. The questions may pertain to CAT preparation, maybe pertaining to GMAT preparation, as well as of various topics which are tested in these particular exams. For example, quants, LRDI, English, and various areas which are tested. And each day we will handle certain number of questions and their video solutions. The best approach is to these questions in these videos. So have a happy preparation ahead and enjoy the video. Thank you.
All right, so these are the questions that we are going to try in today's video. If you have tried it already from the thumbnail, good enough. If you haven't, you can pause the video at this point and try it once before you look into the solutions. We recommend you doing that. But if you just want to enjoy the solution, that's also good enough. And go ahead and watch the solutions now. Okay, this is a very famous problem. There are a lot of variations on this particular idea that appears in different exams. So you need to understand, first of all, don't just assume that assume the question to be something because you've just experienced it. Just read it properly and try to understand. Hopefully this video will help you a little bit in that regards. So in this question, it has been mentioned that the boy wrote first n natural numbers, fine. While calculating the sum, he missed a number. Now he misses a number while calculating the sum. As a result, the average came out to be something, right? Let me just write another statement. Yeah, so as opposed to whatever is mentioned, just this part, just remove it or just don't consider it as of now. And let's say we were given something like this. So he removed one number and found the average of the remaining numbers as ABC, whatever. So that will be given, of course. I'm just writing this as ABC or something. So the difference between these two questions is, see, when he is removing one number and finding the average of the remaining numbers, or even if the remaining numbers is this explicitly not given, and finding the average to be whatever, he is purposely doing that, right? So when he's purposely doing that, when he calculates the average of the rest of the numbers, he's going to divide the total by n minus 1, isn't it? So whatever initially you had the total numbers as, that were n. So when you figure out the total of the remaining numbers after you have removed it, when you're calculating the average, because you know that now there is one less number, so while calculating the average, you are going to divide by n minus 1. But that is for this instance. But for this question, it says while calculating the sum, he missed a number. Now he is writing n natural numbers, right? So when he's calculating the sum, he's just missing out one number. So when he misses out one number, he has not done it purposely. So he has done it accidentally. So he still believes there are n numbers. So when he's calculating the average in this question, in this case, he will actually divide the total by n number of items again. He will actually divide it by n because he's assuming that there are still n numbers in this entire set. So please understand the difference between these two types. I mean, both types appear in exams, and people don't read it properly and they make a mistake just because of the silly reason. So try to understand the question once before going ahead and solving this. So in this case, this is the average he calculated, the calculated average, or this 43, 7 by 11, whatever, it should be this total divided by number of items. Now, for this particular question, you don't have to do anything at all. The reason being, you have this 43, 7 by 11. You don't even have to solve it. If you solve this, you'll get 453 plus 7, that is 473 plus 7, so that is 480 by 11. That should be the total divided by n. So what should naturally occur to you is that n should be a multiple of 11, and out of the given options, only one is a multiple of 11. So you straight away get the answer. You don't even have to solve anything out here. But I am going to show you an approach which is, which doesn't require options in cases where maybe multiple options are multiples of 11, or even in certain cases, in certain exams where options are not given. So taking that into account, let me explain an approach in which you don't have to use the options. So what we know is this is there, right? The total by n is equal to 11. So this thing you have to understand first of all. N has to be a multiple of 11, something like this. Other thing. Now let me explain this part with some examples. So let us take the first 10 natural numbers. So if I take the first 10 natural numbers, the average, by the way, this is an AP series. So the average will be between 5 and 6. It will be 5.5, right? I hope everybody is aware of this AP idea. By the way, Mr. 9. So the average will be 5.5 in this case. Now, even if I remove any number, so I did miss out the 9. So let's say I do remove the 9. Even in this case, the average is not going to change too much, right? Okay, don't consider that you're dividing the total by 9, because we have to think it from the perspective of the question. So whatever is the total of these items, so initially you had a total of 55 when you had everything from 1 to 10. When you remove the 9, you are having a total which is 46, right? Now 55 by 10 or 46 by 10, that is not a huge change, right? It is 5.5 to 4.6. So I hope you can see there's a difference of 1. Because the idea is, even if I remove the highest number, so the highest number in this lot is 10, right? So I have initially 55 by 10, and now the total should be 45, and then divided by 10 will give us the average. This difference will be 1. You cannot have a difference which is more than 1. That is the idea, what I'm trying to say. So the actual average and the calculated average will not be at a gap which is more than 1. So this is the idea you have to understand. Even if you remove the highest number, still the difference will be 1 in this case, right? So, in this particular question, we know the calculated average. Just writing this in short, is 43.7 by 11, right? And originally he was trying to take all the numbers from 1 to n. So the average of all of these, actual average, that is, the actual average of all of these is the average of the first term and last term by, so that is an idea of an AP series. I hope you're aware of this. Average of first term and last term will give us the average of the entire series. So this should be the actual average, right? So this 1 plus n by 2 should be very close to this 43 or 44, right? This should be somewhere in this range itself, or maybe 42 worst case scenario and 42.5 or something, but it should be in this range. So approximately just consider this to be 43. You will not have too much of complication. So if you have 1 plus n by 2 approximately 43, so this n should be approximately 86 minus 1, which is 85. Now, approximately, we know that n is 85, and we already know that n is a multiple of 11. So close enough to 85 that you have, which is a multiple of 11, is 88, right? So you get the answer. If you want to do this a little more precisely, then what you do is, because you know the average cannot be more than a difference of 1, which is understood in this particular example that I took. So this n plus 1 by 2 can can be less than or equal to, if you add 1 to this, or let me put it in this way, this is the easiest way to do this. Just observe this number, or more importantly, observe this fraction. So 7 by 11 is more than half, right? 7 by 14 would have been half. So if you add 1 to this, that will be definitely less than 45, isn't it? So I'll take 45 because this number is less than 44. And the lower bound, again, if I observe that this is more than 43.5, so if I subtract 1 from 43.5, I'll get 42.5. Now, since this number itself is bigger than 43.5, so and the original average should be more than 42.5, right? Again, utilizing that difference of one idea. So now you get a better range. So just multiply 2 on both the sides and subtract 1. So what you'll get is 90 minus 1, 89. And this is 85 minus 1, 84. Now you will be very, very sure that in this range, only multiple of 11 is 88, and that will give you the answer. So I just explained a couple of approaches here. In this question, on the face of it, this is a very, very simple because we have these options. Even in the other variation, you can use an idea similar to this. Just make sure you don't make a mistake on this part, because in that variation, so if he's purposely removing a number and taking the average of the remaining, so the denominator will be a multiple, or denominator will be n minus 1. So in that case, the only exception will be that n minus 1 will be a multiple of 11, had this being the same average in that case. So you can apply the same approach going forward. And the rest of it is very, very similar to it. So that's all I had to add for this problem. Hopefully everything was understood. Thank you for joining in. Okay, so we have a very conceptual question out here. This is a very nice question. It says that sum of n consecutive natural numbers add to 420. The important part out here is this natural number. Had this question said n consecutive integers, I would have considered AP series and middle term. That would have been the fastest approach. But in this case, that's an additional constraint because natural numbers are positive integers, right? So we have to consider in the scope of positive integers only. So we have to take n consecutive natural numbers, which add to 420. So the sum has to be 420. And the n has to be greater than 1, of course. So the number of values that you take should be greater than 1. So one natural number. I mean, you cannot just take 420 and say that, yeah, the sum is 420. That's silly in nature any which way. So we are looking for how many values of n are possible. So we're just counting the number of possibilities of n, right? So how many natural numbers can we actually take? We are looking for that possibility, number of terms in the series. Anyhow, so let's just form the series in this manner. So I'm just taking an arbitrary k. I don't care where that k is. And I'll just take n natural numbers in this manner. So k plus 1, k plus 2, up to k plus n. So there is one constraint which is given in the question that n has to be greater than 1. Now, since there are natural numbers, these are natural numbers. So this number has to be positive, right? So k must be greater than equal to 0. I mean, k can be 0. If k is 0, great, this is 1, but 1 is acceptable, right? So k should be greater than or equal to 0. So these are the two constraints that we have. And this is the series that I'm considering. Now, we are supposed to add this up and we should get a total of 420. So if I add this up, now because they are consecutive natural numbers, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the sum of n terms. So in this case, if I just include 1 to k, everything to this set, so that is all the numbers from 1 to k plus n, right? And the summation will be k plus n into k plus n plus 1 upon 2, right? I hope everybody is aware of this. Summation of 1, 2, 3 up to n is n into n plus 1 by 2. So in this case, we are adding up to k plus n, k plus n being the last term. So k plus n and then plus 1 to that divided by 2. So that is the summation. But this is something we have added extra. So we should be removing that as well. So just trying to remove this. How? Just add the summation. So 1 to k in this case, right? So that is k into k plus 1 by 2. So this is the summation. You can do it in other manners as well. You can use ideas of AP. I will typically use that in this particular, because I don't want to solve with this thing. I'm showing you another angle to add this sum. And that is the fastest way actually, if you understand the AP idea. There are n numbers here, first of all. So we have n numbers. A number of items into average will always give us the sum of the numbers, right? So the number of terms is n, and the average is the average of the first term and last term for an AP, right? So the first term is k plus 1, the last term is k plus n divided by 2. So this is the average into number of items should be the sum, and the sum is given to us as 420. Now this is easy to handle with, or simplification is not required in this case. So let me just simplify a bit here. So we have something like this: n into 2k plus 1 plus n is equal to 840 or something, right? So this is what we have. Great. So this is the problem out here. Now, this is something to do with odd numbers and even numbers to begin with. I hope you're observing this 2k plus 1 thing. You can treat the 2k separately as well. So if you ignore this 2k, that is an even number always, whatever be k, because k is a natural number. You have to understand that. So this n plus 1 and n will have an odd even disparity, right? So for instance, if I take n to be even, then 2k plus 1 plus n, the other bracket, will be actually odd, right? Because this is even, this is always even, and then when you add a 1, it will become odd. So this is one scenario. On the other hand, if I take n as odd, then 2k plus 1 plus n, this entire thing again, as it was in the previous one, will be even now, because n is odd, 1 is odd, adds up to even, and then that this is also even. So even plus even is even, right? So these are the two situations which we can have. But just observe something: if one of these two is odd or even, the other has to be odd, right? So one of these two must always be odd, that is for sure, right? And another thing you should be able to understand, because k is greater than equal to 0. So even if I put k as 0 here, this thing is n plus 1, isn't it? Which is always greater than n. So even if k is not 0, it is more than 0, then it is further more than n, isn't it? So this 2k plus 1 plus n, this other bracket that we have, is definitely greater than the n, the first bracket. So this is always less than this, and one of these two is always odd. That's what the two things that you should understand out here. Because once you understand that, the rest is easy, because both of these multiplied gives us this 840, right? And when you multiply these two things, they are factors of 840, because both are integers in nature. N is also an integer, and this 2k plus 1 plus n is also an integer. So effectively, what we are looking for is just taking out one odd factor out of this, and just distributing it to n or 2k plus 1 plus n, depending on the magnitude of it. So for example, let me just explain this with certain examples. So if I pick up 3, now the other number which multiplies with 3 to get 840 will be 280, right? So if I have 3 into 280, I should be allocating the 3 here and the 280 here, because of this constraint. N has to be the lower factor, right? So I should be allocating 3 to this n, and the 280 to this entire thing, 2k plus 1 plus n. Automatically, the k will come out to be something. Don't worry on that part. On the other hand, if I take the odd factor to be something like 15, let's say, in that case, I need to multiply a 56 to give us 840. I didn't take a good example, by the way. Yeah, let me consider. By the way, this is 280, right? So I'm just trying to extract from here. So 3 into 7. Okay, let me extract 105. So if I extract 105, I'm left with 8, right? Now notice that, yeah, 105 is the odd one. I need to have one of these two odd. So that is very important out here. So if I extract the 105 and 8, 105 will go here and 8 will go here. So it really doesn't matter where it is going, but one of the odd factor extracted goes to either n or the 2k plus 1 plus n. And the other one is automatically assigned, right? So all we are looking for is how many odd factors of this number are there. So as many odd factors we will have of 840, you will automatically have a solution for that. But of course, we have to keep in mind that the value as to, or the odd factor that we are looking for is greater than 1. Because if I take 1 as the odd factor, 1 is an odd number. So if I take 1 as the odd factor, then the 1 will automatically go to n, right? Remember, n is the smaller one. And then this will go to 840, but n has to be greater than 1, that is given in the constraint. So we are looking for odd factors of 840 which are greater than 1. So this is the counting part. So let me just help you understand that as well. So whenever you're counting in terms of factors and all, just try to factorize it in prime part. So prime factorization or composite form, whichever way you want to call it. This is 8 into 105. So 8 is 2 cube and 105 is 3 into 5 into 7. So we are looking for odd factors of this number, right? So first think about all the odd factors and then just subtract 1 to it. The odd factors will come from this part because you cannot take a power of 2. You have to take power of 2 as 0 uh, to make it odd. You cannot have any natural number power of 2, that is. So what are the possibilities? So 3 power could be 0 or 1, 2 possibilities from here. The power of 5 could be 0 or 1, so 2 powers from here also, and 2 powers from here also. So 2 into 2 into 2, that is 8 possible odd number of factors. I hope you're aware of this. It's just a basic counting idea. So 8 odd factors, but out of which one is not allowed, which is 1. I mean, one of them is not allowed, which is 1. So 8 minus 1, 7 should be our answer in this question. So pretty conceptual one. I mean, I hope you have understood this. This variation has appeared in CAT and as well as SAT, as well as IFT, if I'm not wrong, at least once. So do remember this idea. This is a very, very special type. So ideally, if you don't have an exposure to this, it might be difficult and you might get into too much of trial and error. So because we are concerned, so let me try to summarize everything that we did and give you a way that you don't have to, because anyhow you're remembering it. So you don't have to remember too much for this problem. So remember the 840 that we obtained is by multiplying this 2 to this 420, right? But since we are concerned about the odd factors, this 2 is irrelevant whether I'm multiplying or not. So what you can do is, in turn, you can actually figure out the number of odd factors of 420. That will not create any difference because 420 is nothing but, I mean, if you had this as 420 instead of 840, you would have just had a 2 square, because that's what 420 is, half of this number, right? So, but the odd factors are coming from this part. So it will still be 8 odd factors. So you can just count the number of odd factors of the original number. And if the constraint n greater than 1 is there, typically it will be present. Indirectly, it can say how many ways can you write 420 as sum of 2 or more natural numbers as the same thing. So the same idea. So you just take the sum, whatever sum has been given, and simply find the number of odd factors of that number. That itself will give you the answer. So that's the entire thing. I hope everything was understood. It's a very nice problem, but a little conceptual one. So thank you for joining in. Hopefully everything was understood. Well, we have this question on profit and loss. I'll show you a technique in which you don't have to assume or take any variable at all. You can just map it out in the line number, the cost price, selling price, and mark price, and just figure it out. You'll get the answer. Because everything here is in terms of ratio or percentages, even the requirement. So the actual value will not matter at all in this problem. So let us look at the information that are presented. So for a certain article, the cost price and the mark price are in the ratio 4:5. So first of all, what you have, let me just collect the information. The cost price and mark price, or let me write it in this way. The cost price and my mark price are in the ratio 4:5. So this is one relation that is given. It's also mentioned that whatever price it is sold for, the profit percentage is 50% more than the discount percentage. So what it says is profit percentage and discount percentage are in the ratio 3/2, because it is 50% more than the discount percentage. So this is given. But in the line number approach, so let me explain that once. I have explained it in details in our classes, but just a brief of it. First of all, notice that there's a profit. The question is indirectly telling us that there's a profit. So if I take a line number and I plot the cost price somewhere, first of all, the selling price has to be more than the cost price, right? Because there's a profit involved, indirectly mentioned. And there's a marked price, of course, that has to be more than the selling price because there's a discount provided. So when you look at this line number, this difference between the cost price and the selling price is the profit value. It's not a profit percentage. Please understand that. And similarly, this difference between selling price and mark price is the discount value. It's not the discount percentage. So first task for this problem is to convert this ratio to the actual ratio of profit and discount, not the profit percentage and discount percentage. Now the profit percentage is calculated on the CP, right? So let me do it in the simplest manner. So this profit percentage is nothing but this fraction, P by CP. and the discount percentage is nothing but the fraction d by mp. So this is given to us as 3 by 2, right? So just resolve this left hand side. So what you have is p by d into mp by cp is equal to 3 by 2. And you already know this thing to be 5 by 4, right? Please understand CP by MP is 4 by 5. So this is 5 by 4. Or what you do is just multiply it on that side. So what you get is P by D is equal to 3 by 2 into CP by MP, which is 4 by 5. So this is what you're getting, right? Which is 6 by 5. So now you have a relationship between the profit and the discount. So the profit and the discount are in the ratio 6 and 5. So for this question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume the profit to be 6 and the discount to be 5, because that is the ratio, right? Now, the other thing that you have to understand, if this gap is 6 and this gap is 5, then this entire gap or this entire difference between the CP and the MP should be 11, right? Because that is what the points are indicating. I am focusing on the CP and MP because I know the ratio of the CP and MP. So the CP and MP are in the ratio of 4 and 5, and the gap is 11. So the CP has to be 44 and the MP has to be 55, right? Only then you will have this ratio of 4:5 and the difference of 11. So what I'm observing is the difference here is 1. I need to make the difference 11. So I'm just scaling it by 11 times. So you have 44 and 55. And accordingly, just check any one of them. So either one will do. So you have considered the profit to be 6 and the CP is 44. So the SP has to be 50, right? You don't actually have to do this, but anyhow, just for verification purpose. So you can see that now the gap is 6 and the gap is 5. So every constraint is now met, whatever the question is talking about. Now just look for whatever we are looking for. So we're looking for the actual profit percentage. So the profit percentage will be this 6 upon the 44. That is what the question is, right? So we are looking for 6 by 44 as a percentage, which is 3 by 22. If you're aware of 1 by 11, so 1 by 11 is 9.09%. So 3 by 11 should be 27.27%. And 3 by 22 is simply half of 3 by 11, right? So just half this. So you get something like 13.63 or something. Maybe because of recurring thing, this approximates to 13.64%. So option C should be an answer here. So that's it for this problem. I hope you understood this line number approach. It's very fast, actually. A lot of different questions whenever you have everything relate in terms of ratio, percentages, these kind of questions. Just try to use this line number. Relate the CP, SP, and MP properly. Only in the case where it's a loss that these two things will switch over. So SP will go on the left side and CP will go on the right side, and that's it. Otherwise, it's the same idea that utilizes. Just know what the terms indicate, what is the discount, what is the profit, and so on and so forth. And then you can very well use the line number to establish a relationship. So that's my input for this particular question. Hopefully everything was understood. Thank you for joining in. Well, a very common type of question. I mean, this idea has, a lot of different questions are based on this idea. So let's read the question once, and I'll just explain this. It will hardly take 10 seconds if you understand this idea to solve this question. So a person is looking for whatever fox is chasing a dog. He observed that the fox takes 2 leaps for every 3 leaps of the dog. Now, this is the thing you have to understand in this kind of problem. One of the information that is typically given is in terms of time, and the other one is given in terms of distance. So this is the thing that you have to understand in this problem. So whenever you have this sentence, so he observed that the fox takes 2 leaps for every 3 leaps of the dog. What does it imply? Just try to understand that in the very, very layman way. Whenever the dog is taking 3 leaps, the fox is taking 2 leaps. So just what I said, whenever. So it's on basis of time. So on the basis of time, or in the same time, the fox takes 2 leaps and the dog takes 3 leaps. So this is the information in terms of time. So in the same time, this is what happens. Furthermore, in the next statement, however, the fox was covering the same distance. So this is very obvious, right? And same distance is mentioned. So the fox was covering the same distance in 3 leaps, which the dog managed to cover in 4 leaps. So in terms of the distance, whatever the fox is covering in 3 leaps. So 3 leaps of fox. So let me indicate F as 1 leap of the fox. So 3 leaps of fox, whatever is the distance, that is same as 4 leaps of the dog. So this is what is given, right? Now, the easiest way to solve this problem is just equate these two to something. Just equate these to the LCM of 3 and 4. So automatically the F and D will come out to be integers. So you're getting F as 4 and D as 3, right? We have to figure out the ratio of speeds of the fox and the dog. That is typically what we look for. Now, this F I've assumed, if you remember, is 1 leap of the fox, right? And this D is 1 leap of the dog. So 3 leaps of fox is 3F and 4 leaps of dog is 4D. The reason I'm mentioning that again is because here, you know that in the same time, the fox takes 2 leaps and each leap of the fox is of 4 whatever meter or something. So it is a total of 8 units, whatever the unit is. And similarly for the dog, the 3 leaps account, 1 leap is 3 units. So 3 leaps should be 9 units. So now just check this out. In the same time, so let me indicate these as meters. It should be easy for you to understand. So in the same time, the fox covers 8 meter and the dog covers 9 meter. So the ratio of the speed should also be 8 is to 9. We are looking for fox and dog. So place the fox before the dog. So the ratio of speed should be 8 is to 9. Whatever is the distance ratio in the same time should be the speed ratio, right? So the answer is option A. So pretty straightforward question, nothing to this. If you understand this, you'll always look for the distance idea first. Just relate that and then go into the time thing and just figure out the ratio using it. This is the simplest way to solve this problem if you don't want to mug up stuff and all. But yeah, that's all that I had to explain for this question. I hope everything was understood. Thank you.
Hopefully you liked the solutions we provided for these questions. And if you did like it, do not forget to like the video and share, subscribe and comment. Do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon. In that case, you'll get notification as soon as we upload a new video. And if you want to check a bouquet of courses that we provide, so we have a huge variant of courses from customizability to full preparation. You can check our website www.mathoratory.com. I'll leave the link in the description below. And have an enjoyable preparation ahead. Welcome to the Math Oratory family and have a good exam ahead.